Claps are like raindrops.
Clap like money entered your account and it's not from a loan app. Clap.
Right. This is an innovation by Mission Brain Unilearning. It is the first of its kind, and it is an innovative challenge to us. And I really would like to know, how many of us can live without our brain? How many? Okay? No hands. No hands. So it tells you how important that is. So once again, you're welcome to this conference. I will be beginning right away with the University of Ilorin anthem. So can we have the Unilorin anthem? Can you please rise for the Unilorin anthem? Very much.
Morning, everybody. Once again, welcome you to of the meeting at the prestigious University, Glory. Gathered professors, probably one or two that heard when he said, and that's okay. Still welcome. Seriously, here to celebrate all this. And if you've ever had to read 100 slides, or you've had to know that the brain deserves a lot of activity. Whether you are a tech with days for you. So it's differences like young researchers that show of citing like powerful abstract panel that will remind us of why the brain is the most fascinating medicine. So without further ado, let's begin our journey. Intellectually
Very much. Can you please put a hand? Ben Carson, right here. And I won't stop saying that, right?
I believe.
Right? The Ben Carson of UITH, Dr. Adeleke. Thank you very much, sir, for your presence.
Thank you so much,
Thank
sir.
you so much. Also have with us, and don't worry, we'll properly introduce our guests in due time, but they are currently with us, and so we want to acknowledge their presence. We also have with us a senior mentor of mine. I'm sure he doesn't know, so he's getting to know today because I have an interest in things that do not stress me. So not surgery. I have an interest in psychiatry. Dr. Makinde, thank you very much.
I also have an interest in psychiatry. Hello, Dr. Makinde.
And also we have Dr. I really want to get the name right, so please forgive me. Dr. Atere. Yes. Thank you very much, sir, for your presence. Right. We have the future of Nigerian medicine. I believe. I do not know how much of you are interested in medicine because I know my colleagues are going to leave this country very soon. I can see their beautiful faces already matched across across the yes.
I think we should ask.
So we have the future of medicine seated, and so it's my pleasure to welcome Minaret Comprehensive High School, led by Mr. Ridwan Alai, if I'm correct. Thank you very much for joining us today. I hope that we have neurosurgeons seated beside you. We also have Unilorin Secondary School, right, led by Mr. Arawale. So you're very much welcome. Thank you very much, sir. And also, my beautiful ladies and gentlemen, can you please put your hands together for yourselves. Welcome to Mission Brain Conference 2025. We'll be going straight into the program, and we'll be having the welcoming speech by the president, who has been running around these past few months and has been through a lot, and a lot has been through him, right? I believe he's ready for his speech. Mubarak Mustafa Jolayemi. So can you please put the hands together for my president, the president of Mission Brain Unilorin.
Hello, everyone. As the president of Mission Brain Unilorin, it is both a privilege and a great honor to welcome you to the 2025 Mission Brain Unilorin Conference, hosted here in one of the university's most prestigious venues, the main auditorium. The conference is more than just an event. It is a statement that brain health is urgent, that it is interdisciplinary, that it is global. Today, we are joined by professionals, students, educators, and change makers from across Nigeria and around the world, united by one shared commitment to advance brain health through science, ethics, and innovation. In this moment, we reaffirm a simple but powerful truth. Brain health is not a privilege, it is a right. Yet today, millions around the world still lack access to even the most basic form of brain-related care, from mental health services to stroke rehabilitation and emergency care for traumatic brain injury and spinal injuries. Many have never been taught first aid measures. Even fewer have the platform to advocate. That is why institutions must become safe, proactive spaces for brain health education and intervention. That is why Mission Brain Unilorin has chosen to stand at the front lines of this movement. Since our founding in mid-2023, we've worked with relentless focus to educate, serve, and empower. We've educated over 20 community members, conducted over 20 community outreaches, and facilitated more than 10 academic sessions, all aligned with Mission Brain's global pillars: treat, educate, empower. Today's conference marks a historic milestone, not only for our institution, but for the entire African region of Mission Brain and globally. It is a bold step towards turning local passion into global impact, but that journey begins with each of us. Everyone in this room holds the power to become an advocate for brain health within their community, and already our work has started to cross borders. Our chapter now partners with global neurosurgical institutions like Duke Global Neurosurgery and Neurology and the Global Neurosurgery Committee of the World Federation of Neurological Societies and others. I'm reminded of the words of Rita Roy, CEO of MasterCard Foundation, who once said, "You will find the deepest fulfillment when you measure success not just by the opportunities you create for yourself, but by those you create for others." Just a year ago, this movement was a dream shared by 2 students. Today, we are proud to be the most internationally awarded Mission Brain chapter of the year 2024, having opened doors to over 50 students and professionals to international opportunities. And now we gather for the first time ever in Ilorin to celebrate World Brain Day in a way that unites mind across disciplines, continents, and communities. At the heart of today's event is one idea: the brain is the software of the body. Everyone has one, and everyone deserves to protect it. That is why we welcome all voices, students and scholars, doctors and lawyers, engineers and educators. Represented here today are individuals and from institutions like Harvard Medical School, Mayo Clinic, Albert Einstein College of Medicine, and of course, our own University of Ilorin, amongst others. To our invited guests, faculty members, mentors, panelists, and global partners, thank you for honoring us with your presence. A very special welcome to my beloved parents, siblings, family members, mentors, the NGM platform, Engineer Nasir Giwa, and every single supporter who believed in this mission from the beginning. Together, we are making history right here in Ilorin. Thank you and welcome to the mission.
Right, that's our poster boy for neurosurgery. Can we please put our hands together for the president once again?
Can I? So if I may just take a moment to speak from the heart. I remember when this vision planted, when it was still a seed, and I was there at the beginning, and to see how far we've come, the impact, the partnerships. Mubarak is one of the most dedicated people I know. He's very wonderful. So I just want to say that if that speech didn't make you sit straighter on your chair and think, oh, I should do something wonderful, I should do something great from a small place, then I don't know what will, because that's what Mubarak has done. He has done something great from a small place. So I would like to, I think, ladies and gentlemen, let's give him another heartfelt round of applause. Let's celebrate the vision. Thank you.
Yes. And picking up from where she left, this conference is being endorsed by the Nigeria Academy of Neurological Surgeons, the Neuroscience Society of Nigeria, as well as the Department of Surgery, University of Ilorin Teaching Hospital. Yes, please do put your hands together. That's a lot of work. The reach extends far and wide. I was hearing Mayo Clinic. Goes, right? And it's quite interesting to see just how much has been done for this conference. Also, we have as part of this program, the number of invited dignitaries who have not only supported the program since its planning, but have given their all. And so, we'd like to celebrate our invited dignitaries and every of our special fathers and teachers who have put in the work to see this conference come to life today. And we'll be, of course, we can see them at the backdrop. We'll be beginning with our father of the day. So, can we please put our hands together for Professor Odebode? And he's being represented here today by Dr. Nuruddin Adeleke. Thank you very much, sir. Yes, sir. We also have our chief host for today, number one person in the College of Health Sciences. Sorry, forgive me. Please, I would like to have you on the high table. Can we please put our hands together for Dr. Adeleke as he makes his way to the high table? He's representing the father of the day, Professor Odebode. All right, next is the number one person in the College of Health Sciences, the provost. The College of Health Sciences of the Better by Far University, the only university that is better by far. We'll leave it at that. Right. Professor B.S. Alabi, can we please put our hands together for him?
And then Prof. Elo Abdurrahman.
Can we please put our hands together for him? We also have head of department of surgery, the Department of Surgery, University of Ilorin, Professor Agodiri. S1 students, clap louder. Thank you.
Your attendance depends on you to clap louder.
We have our special guest of honor, Engineer Nasir Giwa, the founder of NG Energy Limited, and he's being represented here today by Dr. Atere. Can please put your hands together for him as he makes his way to the high table. Thank you very much, sir. Please put your hands together louder. Right. And then we have our own advisor, who has been a father to us at Mission Brain, Professor Kolawole Wahab. Can please put the hands together for him. And a number of our guests will join us during the course of the program, but we're just appreciating them for their support over the planning and even today, right? Interesting to note, I'm being told that the Provost College of Health Sciences, oh wow.
Advisor is here.
Advisor is here. Please come put the hands together for Professor Wahab. Thank you very much. Professor Wahab is wearing two caps today, even though you can only physically see one. He's wearing two caps today. He's representing the Provost, College of Health Sciences, Professor B.S. Alabi, and he's here in his capacity as our advisor. Can we again put our hands together for Professor Wahab? Thank you very much, sir. Then we have a distinguished array of panelists. I mean, cutting across different walks of life and different specialties, subspecialties, if you like, from neurosurgery to neuroscience to law to public health to pediatrics. I mean, whatever aspect of medicine you're interested in, I'm sure it has a representation on this panel session. So can we please put the hands together for every one of our panelists who would be joining us already? Professor Sunday Ayimode is represented by Dr. Makinde. Thank you very much, sir, again for your presence.
Please clap with dignity for us.
So moving on, we'll be having our advisor speak to us. Our father at Mission Brain, Unilorin. So can we please put our hands together as we make welcome Professor Wahab. Sorry, please give me a minute. All right. So we want to allow our father to get into, the spirit of the conference. So while we wait, how many of us were present at yesterday's pre-conference? You were present at yesterday. I hope you enjoyed it. Did you enjoy? I can hear your responses. Do you need the mic?
I know I did.
I think I need to get down from here. We're not talking, the audience. Yeah. And we are not quiet people because I know you. I know you. I've seen you in my room. Sorry, in my streets. I know you.
I can see you.
All right. One of the things that we learned yesterday, at least I learned personally, was the fact that you can do great things from small places, and it was practically shown. Talk about the global surgery box, I believe, the global surgery box, and the things that have been done. And really, for me, that's a beautiful innovation, and it's a reminder that we are not at a disadvantage in countries like Nigeria. Amen. All right. And so, how many of us have had issues with our network recently? You've had issues with your network, maybe network connection. I'm seeing Glow users. Please drop your hand. Yours is a normal, it's your daily bread. I'm talking about Airtel, MTN, right? Right. One of the innovative ways with which Mission Brain Unilearning has combated that. Forgive me, I forgot to mention our keynote speaker, Professor Olufemi Bankole, is the president of the Nigerian Academy of Neurological Surgeons. So can we please put the hands together for our keynote speaker? He'll be joining us virtually for this conference, right? And we know the problems of the network in this country, and we don't have Starlink yet. And so one of the innovative ways to which Mission Brain has seen to combat the issues of network is to have a pre-recorded video. And then our keynote speaker joins us online to answer your question. Can we please put the hands together for Mission Brain? That's quite innovative. And so to take the citation of the keynote speaker, can we please make welcome Kolawole Caleb. Kolawole Caleb. Can we please put the hands together for him as he comes to take the citation of the keynote speaker?
Good morning, everyone. Yes. Good morning, the Dean, the Provost of the College, the Dean of the Faculty of Clinical Sciences, our fathers in neurosurgery, our lecturers, the residents, my friends, my fellow students. It is time and the hours come when all attendees are to be seated, when all minds are to be settled, and all hearts be receptive. It's time to welcome and partake of the knowledge of a father, our father in neurosurgery, Professor Olufemi Bankole. So Professor Olufemi Bankole is a highly respected neurosurgeon, educator, and leader in Nigerian neurosurgery. He currently serves as the president of the Nigerian Academy of Neurological Surgery, NANS, the premier academy and professional body representing the interests of neurosurgeons in Nigeria. He's a professor of neurosurgery at the College of Medicine, University of Lagos, and a consultant neurosurgeon at the Lagos University Teaching Hospital. Professor Olufemi Bankole has played a pivotal role in shaping the growth and neurosurgical practice and training in Nigeria over the last 2 decades. He is renowned for his expertise in cranial and minimal access surgery, as well as his contributions to advancing neurosurgical education, workforce development, and surgical infrastructure across the country. Professor Bankole is a fellow at both the West African College of Surgeons and the American College of Surgeons, FACS. His leadership has been instrumental in national and international collaborations aimed at improving access to neurosurgical care in low and middle income countries. As president of NANS, Professor Bankole continues to champion initiatives that foster excellence in clinical practice, research, and training, empowering the next generation of Nigerian neurosurgeons and aligning the country with global standards of neurosurgical care. It is with great honor and humility in my heart that I welcome to you our keynote speaker, Professor Olufemi Bankole. Are we ready?
Good morning. ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a rare privilege and an honor for me to have been invited to give the keynote address at this year's Mission Growing 2025 conference. First off, I want to thank the organizers of the conference for making it all happen. I know it's been a long time in planning and preparation, and so I'm really glad it's finally happening today. Before I go into my address, I will first acknowledge the eminent personalities and colleagues gathered today for this conference. Professor Dabade, who is a senior colleague from whom we have learned and continue to learn so much over the years. The provost of the College of Health Sciences, University of Illinois, Professor Alabi, who's a friend and a brother in arms. He and I go way back to our residency days when we were all trying to cut our teeth in this most noble of professions. Other eminent dignitaries, Professor Abdulrahman, the current dean, and Professor Rahab, who is the incoming dean, special guest of honor, Engineer Masoud Gura, the head of department of surgery, Professor Abdul. I salute you all. I also must acknowledge the eminent array of panelists that have been lined up to share with us with their experience and knowledge today. I have no disclosures, and like I said, to join you today, even though virtually. I have so loved to have been here physically, but when the dates were announced, I realized that it clashed with some other commitments that I had, and I didn't want to be the cause for further delay in this conference. In the audience today, I see a wide array of students, both undergraduate and resident doctors in various fields of medicine, researchers, policymakers, healthcare professionals, tech innovators, and healthcare advocates, a true community of diverse men. I'm excited, and I would like us to ask ourselves, what does it truly mean to bridge gap, to bridge minds for paper? Why have we gathered today under this theme, Bridging Minds, Advancing Brain Health through Science, Ethics, and Innovation? It's a simple answer, and that's just that there's no single person, field, or idea that can tackle the challenges of brain health alone. I was reminded of this just a few days ago when, while on our MD-Can platform in the Lagos University of Nigeria, we were talking about having a neuro institute. It was more or less just a friendly banter, and within minutes, other specialties, including gynecology, dermatology, have begun to chime in and indicating how they are also involved in neuro-gynecology and neuro-obstetrics. We all had a good laugh, but it just brought to my mind the fact that when it comes to the brain, it involves every part of us, and everyone is involved. And so together we are smarter, stronger, and more compassionate. And so we have to go in this together. Let me further illustrate this thing by painting the picture of a young boy in a rural village outside Ilorin or any of our major cities. He collapses from a seizure and is unconscious. There is no neurologist for miles, but with the right training and equipment, the community nurse can use a mobile app to connect with a specialist in Ilorin or Ibadan or Ife or Abuja, and in real time, you can use science and technology to save his life. Or let's think of a graduate student in this audience today who teams up with a neurosurgeon or an anesthetist to develop an affordable brain implant for stroke patients, ensuring that it's safe and accessible. These scenarios may sound like science fiction, but they are not. They are within our reach, and they are examples of what can happen when we bridge minds across various disciplines. Today, I would like to explore this theme using these three pillars of science, ethics, and innovation, and, and how each can play a vital role in advancing brain health, and how Nigeria can lead the way by utilizing these three pillars. Let's start with science. It goes without saying that science is our foundation. Science provides the evidence and the knowledge necessary to understand brain disorders and develop treatments. Consider how far neuroscience has come from the early days of trying to discern the human brain, the homunculus, and early work that was done over 150, 200 years ago, to today, where we are mapping neural circuits and developing drugs that can slow the progression of Alzheimer's disease. Yet, we must ask, whose science and whose brain have we been studying over the years? Historically, most of this brain research has been conducted in Western countries, and this has left a knowledge gap about the African brain and the African thinking. Well, as someone who should know, I can tell you that structurally there is no difference when you look at the brain across the races, whether that of a Caucasian or a Black person or an Asian. The brain itself looks the same. However, we know that there are significant functional differences. Functional in terms of the context and how we respond to various threats or perceived conditions to us. And this gap in understanding is both a challenge and an opportunity. It means we have unexplored territory, African populations with diverse genetics, environments, and cultures that can teach us new lessons about the brain. Fortunately, scientists in Nigeria and across Africa are rising up to this challenge, launching initiatives to study neurological diseases in our own unique context. Research that focuses on how our own communities think and learn, ensuring that discoveries reflect our realities. But it's important to understand that science does not happen in a vacuum. It needs collaboration and support. And that is why interdisciplinary science is so crucial. Because the brain is not just a biologic organ. It is indeed the seat of our humanity, our behavior, society, culture, and of our lives. And neuroscientists must work together with other specialists like psychologists, geneticists, engineers, public health physicians, and experts to better and fully understand this wonderful organ called the brain. And bridging minds in science means a neurosurgeon teaming up with a data scientist to analyze traumatic brain injury patterns across society, or a neurologist partnering with a sociologist to study how culture impacts on stroke survival. When we break out of the silos, science becomes richer and more relevant. Nigeria, thankfully, has the talent and the population to be a scientific global player in brain health research and care. We have bright minds and a youthful population hungry for knowledge. What we need then is continued investment and collaboration. Imagine if every major university in Nigeria had a neuroscience program connected with tech hubs and hospitals, sharing data and ideas. This is how we can produce homegrown discoveries. And these discoveries are badly needed today. Unfortunately, neurological diseases like stroke, dementia, epilepsy, Parkinson's disease are on the increase globally, and Nigeria and Africa is not left out. In fact, the World Health Organization warns that these non-communicable diseases of neurological origin are a growing share in the global disease burden. So in Africa, we face this burden even with fewer resources. So our science must be smart and our solutions innovative. By strengthening our scientific capacity and bridging minds globally and locally, Nigeria can generate insights that not only benefit Africa, but advances brain health worldwide. What about ethics? We know that science alone is not enough. So we must ask ourselves, just because we can do something, should we? And this is where ethics comes to guide us. Ethics ensures that we have a human-centered approach to all that we do. Ethics is all about doing what is right for the patients, for the community that we live in, and for future generations. As we rush to innovate, ethics reminds us to slow down and consider the impact. Without ethics, science and innovation can run astray or leave the people behind. Some of us in the audience may recall a fictional work that was done many years ago that involved a very bright scientist who sought to create another human being or a robot and ended up with the Frankenstein, which was, by all accounts, a scientific eureka moment, a wonderful scientific discovery, but a massive social failure. So we want to avoid such scenarios repeating themselves. What good is a groundbreaking brain treatment if only the wealthy can afford it? And I call to mind some recent experiences. For example, the Pfizer trials in northern Nigeria, in which patients were recruited in an unethical way for the benefit of people that lived far away, for which they themselves may never have gotten the benefit of the drugs who are being tested on. So what happens if an AI system for diagnosing brain diseases is biased against Africa? Well, because it was only trained on Western data. These are not hypothetical affairs. They are real risks that we must address today. In fact, experts are calling on the decolonization of emerging technologies so that African values and needs can help shape in the development of such AI technologies. This ensures that AI and other tools are just, equitable, and inclusive for our people. Indeed, our solutions must be just, they must be equitable, and they must be inclusive. A South African philosophy of communalism, Ubuntu, can help here. It is the idea that I am because we are, and it can help to guide in this global technology discourse so that everyone is included. Ethics in brain health also means protecting the dignity and the rights of patients. For example, when conducting research or clinical trials in Nigeria, we must obtain true informed consent and respect cultural norms. We can remember past abuses in medical history, and we vow never again should vulnerable patients be exploited in the name of research. So we want to ensure that we are involving communities in our research decisions. Are we transparent about the benefits and the risks? These are questions every scientist and clinician must consider and continually ask as they go about their business. Moreover, ethical consideration remind us to tackle the stigma and inequity that is sometimes associated with neurological diseases. For example, in mental health, which is an integral part of brain health, stigma can be a bigger barrier than any disease. And so we must tackle this by educating and advocating, educating the public and advocating consistently and continually. Ethically, we are called to do that so that a person with epilepsy or depression is not shunned or hidden away by a family, but supported by the community to become a useful and productive member. And when resources are limited, ethics demands that we prioritize fairly. For instance, if we develop a new low-cost tool for diagnosing brain tumors, we must ensure that it reaches rural clinics where the poorest of the poor may be, and not just get it limited to city hospitals in big metropolitan centers. In essence, ethics bridges minds by bringing human talent to the forefront. It bridges the gap between what we achieve in the lab and what people feel in their everyday lives. The medical breakthrough means little if it doesn't respect our values or serve those who need it most. So, as we advance, we must always ask, how do we use science and innovation to uplift humanity? By keeping that question in the fore, Nigeria can set a moral example, showing that progress in brain health can be compassionate, culturally aware, and inclusive. The third pillar is innovation. Innovation means that we are driving creative solutions for brain health. As we move forward, it's important that we realize that innovation is necessary for us to bridge the gap between the resource poor environment that we find ourselves and in other high-income countries. Innovation then is the creative engine that turns scientific knowledge and ethical intentions into tangible solutions. Innovation is about thinking outside the box, as we are told. It's about harnessing new technologies and ideas to solve stubborn problems. And importantly for us, it's about African-driven innovation, solutions created by us, for us, which we can then share with the world. If we look at the landscape today, we see that telemedicine in some form is booming in Nigeria and other African countries, connecting patients in remote areas with doctors and healthcare practitioners using simple devices like a smartphone and video. In fact, telemedicine has the potential to be one of the fastest growing sectors in health as we strive to expand care to every corner. Consider a few real-life examples, even of Nigerian innovation. There is a local startup that is applying artificial intelligence to predict breath asphyxia in newborn babies who lack oxygen at birth. This AI model can assess a newborn's risk within moments of birth, allowing doctors to act immediately and save that baby's brain from damage. That's remarkable. The life-saving diagnosis happening within seconds right here in Nigeria. We also have entrepreneurs all across Africa who are delivering blood and essential medicines using drones to hard-to-reach places and communities. I can just imagine some places in parts of Nigeria, like in the northeast, where for various challenges, places may be difficult to access, or in riverine areas, communities across Nigeria. So such drugs are being delivered using drones, and we also have engineers developing affordable EEG machines to diagnose epilepsy in small clinics. When I hear of these stories and when I see the crowd audience today, I can't help but be excited about the future. It proves that innovation is not the exclusive reserve or the luxury only afforded by rich countries. It is a necessity and strength of Nigeria and Africa. We innovate out of need, out of inspiration, out of necessity. Why wait for outside solutions when our own people understand our challenges best? Whether it's using 3D printing to create low-cost medical devices or mobile apps to help patients remember to take their medications, Nigerian innovators are stepping up. However, innovation flourishes best in the right environment. So we need to establish and nurture a culture where trying new ideas is encouraged. Most of us here are familiar with the story of Thomas Edison and his many adventures in trying to create what we now know as the electric light bulb. We are told that he tried hundreds of times, literally 1,000, before finding the right solution. And so in our universities, in our hospitals, in our tech hubs, we must support startups. We must encourage a culture where new ideas are encouraged. This means supporting startups, investing in research and development, and yes, tolerating the possibility of failure as part of the learning process. And we create more opportunities for a doctor to partner with an engineer, for example, or a programmer with a psychologist. Let me tell you a story. Many of us here are aware of a disease called hydrocephalus. Hydrocephalus has plagued humanity for hundreds of years, since the days of Hippocrates. However, the story of hydrocephalus and its care changed in the 50s when there was such cross-disciplinary collaboration. An engineer whose son was born with a congenital malformation and developed hydrocephalus. And in discussing with the doctor, we realized that what was needed was a valve system that would divert the cerebrospinal fluid in a consistent and a continuous basis. And so he went back and with some tinkering, developed what was then called the Spitz-Holter valve. And that was the beginning of consistent shunting and reliable shunting that has been the backbone of treating hydrocephalus now for the last 70 years. And so that kind of story highlights the need and the value of cross-disciplinary collaborations. I believe that we can, and indeed we must. Let's organize hackathons, innovation challenges focused around healthcare. Let's spark collaborations across disciplines. In fact, this conference is an example of bridging minds. It has brought us neurosurgeons, neurologists, scientists, engineers, students, IT specialists, ethicists, all into the same space to exchange ideas. Let's remember that innovation is not just about high-tech gadgets. Sometimes it's a simple, locally inspired idea that makes the biggest impact. For example, community health workers in some African countries are using bicycles fitted with cooler boxes to deliver vaccines to villages. A low-tech innovation, saving lives and indeed saving brains by preventing diseases like meningitis. So, innovation spans from the smartphone to the humble bicycle, wherever we can creatively solve our problems. Ultimately, Innovation in brain health means hope. Hope that we can overcome what once seemed insurmountable. If we continue to bridge our minds, Nigeria can become a launchpad of brain health solutions for all of Africa and by extension, the entire world. Our innovations can be exported just as easily as imported, and our creativity can inspire the world. So at this point, we may ask the question, can Nigeria truly lead in advancing brain health? Well, the answer is a resounding yes. Absolutely yes. But not by going it alone, but through interdisciplinary, international, and intentional collaboration. Bridging minds means bridging borders and sectors. We have seen how international partnerships help to boost research. For instance, African scientists, Nigerian scientists to be precise, are part of the global consortia studying genetics of neurologic diseases, in movement disorders like Parkinson's, in strokes, and in a wide array of neurological conditions, thus ensuring that our data and our perspectives are included in the global conversation for these conditions. This is crucial because solutions that work in London or New York might not perfectly fit Lagos or Nairobi. So we must be partners in the global stage, not just recipients. This requires confidence in our own capacity and strategic collaboration. Within Nigeria, we also gain leadership by uniting across fields. Our leadership potential lies in our people, lies in the neurosurgeon in Ibadan, the neuroscientist in Ilorin, the AI developer in Abuja, or the public health officer in Kano, or the entrepreneur in Lagos. When these minds connect, magic happens. Of course, there are challenges, and we have identified some gaps. There is a severe shortage of neuroscience specialists across the nation. For example, in my field of neurosurgery, there are less than 200 neurosurgeons for over 200 million as of today. And this is actually a great improvement of what it was like just a mere 10 or 20 years ago. There is a brain drain of talent seeking opportunities abroad. And there are major infrastructural deficiencies. We know that. But bridging minds can turn these challenging situations around. How? You may ask. By mentoring and training, for example. Senior doctors can train more neuroscientists faster. Technology experts can teach digital skills to health workers. By embracing telemedicine and e-learning, a single expert in Nigeria can virtually mentor dozens across the nation and across Africa. Also, by engaging our diaspora, brilliant Nigerian professionals abroad, to encourage them to contribute through knowledge exchange. Each collaboration is a bridge that closes the gap. African-driven innovation, crucially, must then be championed by policies and leadership. And this is where our policymakers and leaders in the room today and listening will play a role. We must support research funding, modernize regulations to accommodate new technologies that prioritize brain health in our national health agenda. In Nigeria, we can create a model framework where ethics committees, scientific institutes, and tech incubators work hand in hand. Just imagine a national program that funds innovative brain health solutions, either from preventive mental health programs in schools to cutting-edge neurosurgical techniques, while ensuring ethical oversight all the while. Such a program will say to the world that Nigeria is not only addressing its own needs, but is a hub for brain science and innovation. I truly believe Nigeria can spark a brain health renaissance on the African continent. We have done it already in other areas. Think of how Nigerian tech startups have led in fintech and mobile communication and the benefits that have accrued as a result. So why not in healthcare and neuroscience? It starts with believing in our capacity and working together. When we bridge minds, we can turn brain drain into brain gain, keeping our talents engaged and attracting collaboration from abroad on equal terms. And when Africa leads in solving its own brain health challenges, the solutions will be more sustainable and relevant. In fact, they will benefit everyone. A discovery in Nigeria can be of benefit to a patient in New York. And a bioethics framework developed in Africa can help guide research in Europe. That is the power of inclusive leadership. So as I conclude, I want each and every one of us to picture the future that we are striving for. Picture a future where preventive brain health education is taught in every school across Nigeria. A future where cutting-edge research labs come with discoveries. A future where ethical AI tools help to diagnose patients even in the most remote of villages. And where African neurosurgeons and scientists are at the forefront of global breakthrough. In Nigeria, where no child with epilepsy is denied schooling due to stigma, and no stroke patient is left untreated because help couldn't reach them in time. This future is possible. It is within our grasp if we choose to build it together. So here is my challenge and call to action for us all. Let's commit to truly bridging minds. To the students here, remain curious. Ask the big questions. Ask the difficult questions. And don't be afraid to pursue new ideas that break boundaries. To the researchers and clinicians, collaborate beyond your comfort zone. Let's invite engineers, ethicists, data analysts into our projects and step into their own world. To the policymakers and leaders, let's champion policies that fund brain health programs and protect the vulnerable. Your support can help to remove obstacles and scale up on our already burgeoning innovations. To the tech innovators and entrepreneurs, work closely with healthcare professionals. Focus your brilliant minds on solutions that matter for patients and for healthcare providers. Because a gadget is only as good as its real-world impact. And to the advocates and every member of the community, keep pushing for awareness, education, and the rights for those affected by neurologic disorders. Your voices ensure that our science and innovation always remember the human stories at their center. In the spirit of our theme for this conference, it's time to advance brain health through science, ethics, and innovation together. The bridges we build today between disciplines, between generations, between Nigeria and the world will provide countless individuals healthier, fuller lives tomorrow. And so I ask you, will you help build those bridges? Your presence here today suggests to me that your answer is yes. Together, we can bridge minds and ignite a brain revolution. Together, we can show that Africa and Nigeria can light the way, guided by knowledge, anchored in ethics, and propelled by innovation. And so the future of brain health in Nigeria is bright, and it begins now with us. Indeed, the future is here. I thank you very much for your attention. Have a wonderful celebration of knowledge.
Thank you very much, Femi Bankole. Can we once again please put our hands together for him? The president of the Nigerian Academy of Neurological Surgeons. Thank you so much for that speech. I would love to ask what we learned. You know, I picked a couple of things. Did you?
Such a beautiful speech. Very powerful. You know, the most important thing I heard today, that innovation doesn't ask where you're from. It asks, what do you have in your hands? What can you contribute? So don't feel limited because, oh, I'm a Nigerian. Whether you're holding a pen, whether you're holding a paintbrush, a stethoscope, a laptop, or just a dream, you're already part of the conversation. So we don't need to wait for another country. We are Nigerians and we can do it. Nigeria can lead. We can be the solution, not just the ones waiting for it. And we can't do it alone. We need to collaborate. Doctors with engineers, artists with scientists, students with mentors. This is how we win African-driven innovation.
Good day, everyone.
Raise my hand, and I want to lead a chant. So when I say be, you say inspired. Be inspired. So we'll go 1, 2, 3. Be
Inspired.
Be
Inspired.
Be
Inspired.
So don't just say it. Picture the future, just like Prof. Femi has said, and go out and live it. Thank you.
Can we again put our hands together for Professor Femi Bankole? I know you have questions, and please do keep your questions in heart. There will be a time for the question and answer, and then Prof. Femi would address your questions right in this program. So during the course of the keynote speech, we had a number of our dignitaries join us in the conference. And so can we please put our hands together and welcome again Professor T.M. Akonde, ably represented by Professor M.B. Uthman, the HOD, Community Medicine,
Please
Epidemiology, and Biostatistics.
clap
Can we
with
please put our
dignity
hands
for our
together
dignitaries, please.
for Prof. Uthman? We also had one of our panelists and the president of the Neuroscience Society of Nigeria, the one and only BVO, Professor BVO, join us. He's ably represented by Dr. Abdul Majid. You're welcome, sir. And another of our panelists, I don't know what the rest of us are, but he's the only man in pediatrics. Professor Man Adeboye, you're welcome, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. We also had Dr. Alaufin join us during the course of the keynote speech. Thank you very, very much, sir, for your presence. And also, my God, he is stuff personified in neurosurgery. Dr. Adeboye join us. Thank you so, so much, sir, for joining us. We had a couple of our senior lecturers as well from the Department of Surgery. Yes, from the Department of Surgery join us. And would like to recognize their presence. We have Dr. Enahoro, a consultant in neurosurgery. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. We also have Dr. Nara join us as well. Thank you so, so much, sir. And we have Dr. Adepoju. Yes, Dr. Adepoju, thank you very much, sir. And Dr. Sulaiman Abu Ubaida joined us. Thank you very much. And we want to specially recognize a very they are distinguished guests in our midst, and they are the parents of our president, Mr. and Mrs. Abdurazak Mustafa, the parents of the president of Mission Brain Unilorin. Thank you very much, sir and ma, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
All right, so also joining us during the keynote speech were the future, like I called them, of medicine, I believe. Students from Al Itqan Model College, led by Mr. Yusuf. Students from Al Itqan, are they here? Are they here? Well, can we please put our hands together for them? They're here. And students from Molly's schools, led by Mrs. Ebong. You're welcome. Thank you very, very much. So at this juncture, we'll be listening to our advisor. So can we please make welcome Professor Kolawole Wahab.
Sorry, to scan the QR code, please.
Oh, yes.
Can access the
Please,
event program.
yes, to access the program of events, please do scan QR code. Please, again, put your hands together for Prof. Wahab.
The president of Mission Brain, so that I'll start the protocol from where it should start from. Members of the high table, my distinguished colleagues, distinguished invited guests, the parents of the president of Mission Brain, Ilorin, and all other protocols duly observed. I don't know how to observe protocols, so please let me just say that I want to adopt what has been established already. And the reason is very simple. I don't want to step on sensitive toes. No, I'm a neurologist. I know what sensitivity means. If you step on someone who has neuropathic pain and you step on his toes, the person has allodynia or has hyperalgesia, then you know what you are dealing with. So I don't want to step on sensitive toes. But I'm very pleased to be here this morning and discussing one very important thing, the most complex organ that God has created. That is the brain. And I want to express a wish. And that wish is that I want everyone here, except our fathers and then the fully committed stem cells we have in the front here, that I want everybody to come and join us as we try to reduce the burden of neurological disorders in Nigeria. And we can actually do it. If I have half of the people inside this auditorium, then my task is done. And I'll focus on our future. The secondary school students who are here, you've done biology, or you are still doing biology, and maybe they've taught you biology of the nervous system. You talk about central nervous system, you talk about peripheral nervous system. But we're going to break this down to something that you'll be able to understand and appreciate. You know, the building block of human body is the cell. The building block of the nervous system is the neuron. And you have several millions of these aggregated together and put inside this skull. So you can now imagine if you have these neurons put side by side and they are lined together, if God has not been so merciful to us, a single person's brain, skull, will be as long as from here maybe to Geralimi, if they are to work in series. But he has compacted them together, working in parallel. And that is talking about building bridges. And that is why the conference theme is actually very important, talking about bridging minds, advancing brain health through science, ethics, and innovation. And I want to go back maybe a little bit in time to about 2 years ago, when Mubarak came to me then and expressed the desire that he would want a chapter of Mission Brain to be established here in Ilorin. And we started working together. I thank God that today we can host a conference like this and with this kind of attendance. It actually shows us that the future is very bright, because if we could have the like of Mubarak and his team, who have been working together to ensure that we have something like this. You imagine by the time they launch their magazine, you see what they have done, going to the community, with little or nothing, motivating people. And it's part of the motivation that has brought the audience we have here today. Now, taking care of the brain is a challenge, and it's something that one person cannot do alone. So you may be a neurologist, you just do your own portion. You may be a neurosurgeon, you just do your own portion. And you are a nurse, you are relevant. And I do tell people that when we talk about taking care of the patient, we always talk about patient as if that person is the person who will just come to the hospital, he already has a name. But in actual fact, when you talk about a patient, it's an anonymous thing, because any one of us sitting down here could be the next patient. And that is why everybody is important. Again, talking about bridging gaps. Okay, because the person who is at the gate of the hospital is very important too. Because if it delays the entrance of your vehicle to the hospital, then you delay the person who you want to thrombolize. When you talk about ischemic stroke, Professor Bankole was talking about neurological disorders and was mentioning a stroke. We have two types of stroke. We have the one in which the pipe supplying blood to the brain gets blocked. We call that ischemic stroke. We have the type in which the pipe ruptures before it gets to where it's supposed to supply. We call that intracerebral hemorrhage. But in ischemic stroke, you can burst the clot, and that is time dependent. So if you have someone at the gate that you don't think is important, it can delay the entrance of the patient, and then the person who is just a porter, just quote and unquote, would delay getting the patient to the CT suite for you to have the CT scan that you need to actually confirm the type of stroke you are dealing with before you say you want to give your clot buster. So you look at the chain from the gate to when the patient is attended to in the emergency room, to when he gets to the radiology department, to when he returns to the department. Who are the people involved there? So you now look at the role of the neurologist. You see that is just a single part that is going to play there. Okay, so everybody is important, and that is why we need to always come together if we want to reduce the burden of neurological disorders in the country. So I've talked about several things, and I've talked about those who are stakeholders in reducing this burden. So who are these stakeholders? We have the neurologists, we have the neurosurgeons. I've talked about the nurses. We have the psychiatrists. We have community health physicians. And we have all those other people that will work together in the neurosciences, the physiotherapists, okay, the speech therapists. But these are people that are clinicians. But we have some unsung heroes. Those are the basic scientists, okay? Those who teach physiology, neurophysiology, those who teach anatomy, okay? These are the unsung heroes because they are the ones that will make you to understand the basics of the brain that you want to treat later as a neurologist or as a neurosurgeon. And then when you treat these people, there are other things that you need to take into consideration. Ethics. So we have people who are neuroethicists. Okay, so everybody is important. And before I go to sit down, I'm going to give an example to illustrate what I will mean. Dr. Alaofin, my colleague, is here. Just about 2 to 3 weeks ago, we had a patient who had stroke, and the stroke was massive, and the patient had to land in the ICU, okay, in the intensive care unit of the hospital. And because it was a massive stroke, we tried all we could, but there was a time we now went to review the patient. One morning like that, we were in the clinic, we had to rush down to go and review him. And we saw that, oh, the brainstem reflexes were lost. And when you have loss of brain stem reflexes, you say the person is brain dead. Okay, so literally the person is just there, okay, being mechanically ventilated, but the brain is gone. Okay, so you need to take a decision on what to do. Okay, so if you don't have someone who is trained in ethics, how will you take that decision at that moment? What are you going to do? Okay, so this is just telling us that there are several avenues where everybody can contribute. And in contributing, we need to generate new data. And that is where research will come in. So I'm going to charge every one of us here in the room today, from the students to the oldest professor in the room. We have roles to play. Okay, we need to generate data and look at the burden of neurological disorders in the country and see where we can come in as individuals, but as a team, okay, so that the neurologist who is at the teaching hospital will work with the biomedical engineer here and will work with the computer scientist here, okay, so that we'll be able to work together and we'll be able to now bridge those gaps that have been there, those artificial barriers that we created. People have been working in silos. If we are able to work together, you agree with me that we'll be able to reduce the burden of neurological disorders in Nigeria. So I want to once again congratulate Mission Brain for this conference and for the idea of coming up with a conference with a very impactful theme. And I can see Mubarak in the room. I'm sure if I measure his blood pressure now, it should be coming down because yesterday I imagined what the blood pressure would have been like. And about 3 weeks ago, when we were finalizing the program, I imagined what was going through his mind. We were even toying with the idea of shifting the conference venue from here to another place because of the fear of attendance. But in actual fact, those who are sitting down here will understand what cerebral edema is. My brain is swollen. Short of words, seeing people here, seeing the massive attendance here. Thank you very much all for coming. Thank you.
Well, what is my prof without some stuff? Can we once again put our hands together for Professor Wahab? Right, so I made an error earlier and I want to humbly correct it. So it is Prof. MMB Uthman and he's a professor of public health and community medicine. My apologies. Can we please put the hands together for Prof? All right. So we'll be having something beautiful happening by the side while we go on with the conference. And we have an artist who would be using his art to preach the message of brain health. And so can we please make welcome Shitsu Muide Marvel. He is a 500 level Unilorin medical student, the leader of the Northern Nigeria 2025 Global Arts in Medicine Fellowship, and a fellow of the Global Arts in Medicine, and is the creator of the SM Marvel Art Studio. So Marvel will be doing his art, and towards the end of the program, he would be showcasing that art to us. Right. I believe we've all scanned the code and we have a copy of the program. Yes. Yes. Have we scanned the code or do we need to put up the code again? Has everyone scanned the code? All right. Thank you.
Okay, so a round of applause as we welcome the father of the day, Prof. Timothy Odebode, who is represented by Dr. Adeleke.
And please put the hands together for him as he makes his way to the podium. Keep clapping until he gets here.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Adeleke. representing my boss, my mentor, Professor Timothy Olugbenga Odebode, the father of the day, who is unavoidably absent today. So I would like to present his father of the day speech, the way he wrote, so that I will pass his message across. The courtesy. The Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic Management Services, registrars, and other principal officers of the university, Provost of College of Health Sciences, the Chief Medical Director, Director of Administration, UITH, Ilorin, other principal officers of the University Teaching Hospital, Deans of faculties, regarding school student affairs, directors, professors, and other members of Senate and heads of departments, members of academics and non-academic staffs, the Lord spiritual and temporal, distinguished invited guests. Good morning, everyone. Standing before you today, I wear many hats. As a professor of neurosurgery, as a mentor, as a Christian, and perhaps most fondly today, as a proud father. A father not just of biological children, but of visionaries, of young people who have chosen to think, serve, and lead differently. I'm deeply honored to serve as the father of the day at this remarkable gathering of the Mission Brain Society, University of Ilorin chapter. Let me begin by stating what we are witnessing here today with a much broader, powerful movement, a movement called the University Students Mission Brain Society. This society was born out of sacred burden, a divine steering to raise students who are intellectually sound, spiritually rooted, and socially engaged, and missionally driven. Students who refuse to separate science from faith, who see the marvel of the human brain not merely as a biological organ, but as a signature of God's genius. Students who realize that mental health and missions can go hand in hand, that compassion and competence must work side by side. The foundation of this movement rests on 4 strong pillars: spiritual depth, scientific curiosity, and medical missions and social transformation. And here at the University of Ilorin, we have taken that vision, brought it to life vividly, audaciously, and excellently. You began your chapter only recently in 2023, yet what you have achieved within this short span is simply outstanding. Let me highlight just a few things that make me immensely proud. Your World Epilepsy Day outreach reached out to over 1,000 people, spreading awareness, fighting stigma, and bringing care to those who have long been overlooked. That is both medicine and mission in action. Your Cranial Guard initiative, which educates the public on spinal and brain injury prevention, is a practical, life-saving contribution in a society where road traffic accidents and fall too often lead to tragedy in our emergency rooms. On the global front, you are shining brightly. You earned the Service and Compassion Award from the Global Mission Brain Foundation. One of your own was selected for the Black in Neuro Mentorship Program, a program that builds international bridges in neuroscience leadership. Another received the NSNS travel grants to present original research, a rare honor for an undergraduate. All this led not by consultants or professors, but by students. Students with hearts, with bold ideas, with an unusual sense of purpose and responsibility. I must mention with great admiration that your chapter president, Mubarak Mustafa, Mubarak, your leadership is quiet but clear. Inspired not by notes, but by action and consistency. To your vice president, James, to every member of your executive council, to every foot soldiers and volunteer in this vision, I say thank you. You have made us proud again and again. But my joy doesn't come merely from awards and outreach statistics. Though those are impressive, my greatest joy comes from seeing young people who truly care about the brain, about the sick, about the faith, and about the future. In a world increasingly defined by distractions, consumerism, and apathy, you have chosen the other paths, the path of meaning, of service, of mission. And that makes you leaders, whether or not you carry a little. This society, Unilorin Student Mission Brain Society, has given you a platform not only to explore the wonders of the brain and body, but to embrace a vision that says, my education is not just for me. My skills are not just for paycheck. My life is not just for survival. It is for purpose. And what is this? What is that purpose? To raise a generation of intellectually sound, spiritually vibrant, mission-driven students who will use knowledge of the brain, health, and science to serve God, impact lives, and transform society. That is not a dream. That is a defined assignment. I believe with what I've seen here at Unilorin that you are already living it. So to all members of the Mission Brain Unilorin, I say keep going, keep shining, keep showing us that leadership isn't about age or title, but about action. We are watching, we are learning, and we are incredibly proud. As your father of the day, from my heart, thank you for making this vision real. May God bless you, lift you, and multiply your impact beyond anything you can imagine. Thank you. Timothy Olugbenga Odebode. Thank you.
Can we again put our hands together for our father of the day, Professor Timothy Odebode, represented by Dr. Adeleke. We have a couple of student leaders who joined us during the course of the program. I would like to recognize them in no particular order. Comrade Adam Muzid, the Public Relations Officer of the Students' Union, University of Ilorin. Can we put our hands together for him? Thank you very much for joining us. We also have Comrade Abiola Idris Olaoye, the Social Secretary of the Students' Union of the Better by Far University. You're welcome. Also, one of our panelists joined us. He, more than just being the panelist, he is the president of the Law Students Association, Prince Shita Oyebanji. You're welcome, sir. Thank you very, very much. And we also have a senior registrar in the Department of Neurology, Dr. Shoaib, with us this morning. Thank you so much. Also, we have house officers from the Department of Surgery. We see you and we welcome and recognize your presence. Thank you very, very much for joining us.
Thank you very much once again. We're privileged to hear from the global face of Mission Brain, all the way from across continents, bringing heart and leadership. Please let us welcome April Sabangan.
Right, so Ms. April is a neuro nurse, yes, and she is the Chief Executive Officer for Mission Brain Global, and she'll be speaking to us virtually. Can we have... Thank Thank you. So please direct your
Good
attention to the
morning,
screen.
distinguished guests, esteemed faculty, honored partners, and most importantly, our brilliant students and young leaders. It is with immense pride and gratitude that I welcome you to the Mission Brain Conference 2025, hosted by Mission Brain Unilorin. Addressing this incredible community of thinkers, innovators, educators, and advocates in Ilorin, Nigeria, one of our most vibrant and trailblazing chapters, is an incredibly proud moment for me and the entire Mission Brain community. As CEO of Mission Brain Global, I've had the privilege of witnessing our mission come to life in different parts of the world. But what we see here today in Nigeria is deeply special. This conference is not just an event, it is a movement driven by passion, purpose, and the power of young people who believe that brain health is not a luxury, it is a right. When we co-founded Mission Brain together with Dr. Alfredo Quinones Hinojosa of the Mayo Clinic and Dr. Michael Lawton of the Barrow Neurological Institute, we did so with three core values in mind: treat, educate, empower. These values live and breathe in the work of Mission Brain Unilorin. In just over a year, this chapter has led over 20 outreach programs, multiple academic initiatives, and now hosts Nigeria's first student-led brain health conference, a feat that deserves every recognition. The theme of this year's gathering, Bridging Minds, Advancing Health Through Science, Ethics, and Innovation, reminds us that real progress happens when knowledge meets compassion, when technology meets humanity, and when action meets purpose. You have created a space today that is truly interdisciplinary and international, bringing together neuroscientists, neurosurgeons, students, innovators, and advocates from across various continents. But beyond the names and numbers, what excites me most is the spirit of ownership you've shown. You've proven that global impact starts with local leadership, that innovation doesn't need to wait for permission, and that when young minds are empowered, the possibilities are endless. To our student leaders, your voice matters, your work matters, your energy is changing lives. To our faculty and professional partners, thank you for standing behind these young visionaries and showing them that excellence is possible and service is honorable. As we continue the Mission Brain journey in Nigeria and around the world, let this conference be a launchpad for sustainable change. Let it inspire more advocacy, more education, more empowerment, especially in communities where access to brain health is limited. Together, we are building a world where brain health is understood, prioritized, and protected for every person everywhere. On behalf of the Global Mission Brain family, I thank you for your commitment, your courage, and your leadership. Let's continue to treat, educate, and empower. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of this impactful conference.
Thank you very much. Right. It's been quite a while. We've been just, I will still listen to more, actually. In the events leading up to the conference, there was a call for abstracts that was put out by Mission Brain. And after careful consideration, we were able to streamline this multitude of abstracts into 7. And these seven presenters will be presenting their abstract today, and they would be judged. And so to lead this session, please make welcome Abdul Basit as he gives the necessary details on the abstract presentation. Can we please put our hands together for Abdul Basit?
Thank you very much. A very good morning, afternoon, and evening to all our distinguished participants joining from across the globe. And I welcome you to this session of the Mission Brain Conference 2025. I am Muili Abdubasitokwemi, medical student and the research director of Mission Brain University of Ilorin. And as such, I'm honored to introduce this abstract presentation to you all. This abstract presentation is focused on global neurosurgery and the promotion of brain health among students in low and middle income. We're excited to hear from our 6 talented individuals whose abstracts have been selected from a total of 20 abstracts globally. We have 4 physical presenters and two international presenters from Trinidad and Tobago and India. We are also excited to introduce our judges for today's program to the judging seats. We have Dr. Nuruddin Adeleke, a consultant neurosurgeon. We also have Dr. Makinde Anyonda. And we also have Dr. Alaofin Wemimo, a consultant neurologist. Sorry for the interlude. So, our judges are going to use a scoring rubric to assess the clarity, the scientific rigor, and the overall impact of each presentation from the introduction section to the conclusion section. They're also going to evaluate the presentation style and the originality of the research. So I encourage you all to listen intently, be inspired, and to engage the presenters during the question and answer session. So let the presentations begin. So I'll start the presentation by inviting our presenters to the podium for the abstract presentation. So our first presenter of today is Adekola Abdullahi Adesoye. He is going to be presenting his manuscript titled Management of Spinal Tuberculosis in Africa, Neurosurgical Approaches and Patient Outcomes. A round of applause for him. Yes.
Good morning, distinguished guests. My name is Adekola Abdullahi Adesoye, a medical student here at the University of Ilorin. I'll be presenting on behalf of my research team at the Mission Brain University of Ilorin chapter. Our research topic is
Sorry, just give me a bit. I'd like to read out the names of all the presenters and the order in which they will be presenting. So we have Adekola Abdullahi Adesoye, representing Management of Spinal Tuberculosis in Africa, Neurosurgical Approaches and Patient Outcomes. We have Oyedeko Oluwafikayomi Deborah, representing Burden of Epilepsy at a tertiary health facility in North Central Nigeria. Number 3 would be Ayorinde Oluwaseun, presenting Ethical Conflict in Pediatric Neurosurgical Decision Making. We also have, forgive me, Raghavendra Kumar Mahato, representing Effectiveness of Biodegradable 3D Printed Cranioplasty Implants in Pediatrics Core Defect. Also have Khalil St. Bryce, representing the Around the World Technique in Aneurysm Management, a sloping review. So these will be our presenters for today. Okay, and number 6, that's Clement Elam, will be presenting Expanding Palliative Care Access for Neuro-Oncology patients in Africa. Our presenters have 4 minutes for their presentation, after which they will be given 1 minute to respond to whatever question they have, making a total of 5 minutes. The judges are going to be judging based on clarity and the metrics as before mentioned by Abdul Basit. So please, my dear audience, pay attention, keep your ears open and your heart open. Perhaps a new innovation may drop in your own heart as you listen to this abstract presentation. I believe our judges are ready. Yes, sir? Are we ready? All right. So over to you.
Okay, so our research topic is management of spinal tuberculosis in Africa, neurosurgical approaches and patients' outcomes. So what was our rationale for this topic? So spinal tuberculosis is one of the major causes of neurological deficits and spinal deformities in Africa. Look at the charts on the right. you see that quite a significant number of patients present with HIA spinal cord injuries, which refers to a complete loss of sensory motor function below the level of the lesion. So this is exacerbated by delayed diagnosis, HIV co-infection, and prevalent socioeconomic barriers. This forms almost like a vicious cycle. So our review sought to examine neurosurgical approaches to spinal tuberculosis in African settings. So what were the questions we sought to answer with our review? One, what are the neurosurgical approaches used for the management of Pott's disease in African settings? So what are patients' outcomes following operative intervention for spinal tuberculosis? And three, what are the avenues for advancing neurosurgical care for spinal TB in Africa? So our methodology, we carried out a scoping review, searching study databases from 2003 to March 2025, and we ended up including a total of 27 studies in our review. So this is a chart showing the Prisma flow diagram of the selection process. So the results, if you look at the charts on the right, you can see that the commonest surgical approach used for the management of spinal TB in African settings is the posterior-only approach, making about a total of about 35.7%. And when we combine multiple stage surgeries, it makes up about 60%. So, but if you look towards the extreme end, minimally invasive surgeries are very rare in African settings, less than 4% of surgical approaches for spinal tuberculosis. So this MRI is of a 27-year-old man who presented with history of night sweats, a gibbous, and he developed quadriplegia about 6 months before he presented. This is one of the challenges, delayed presentation. So he had a 3-stage surgery. He had drainage of the abscess. He had an anterior decompressive surgery and then a posterior decompressive surgery. And the subsequent picture is of the man less than a year afterwards, playing ball after recovering neurological function. So patients' outcomes, if you look at the charts to the left, this is from a study which showed that patients had up to 76% correction of kyphosis. Studies have also showed dramatic reductions in the Oswestry Disability Index, from one particular study from 95.4% pre-op to 8% post-op. So what are the challenges? These include delayed presentation. There was one study that showed that up to 60% of patients had delayed presentation with worsening of neurological functions, limited infrastructural facilities. This is highlighted by the rarity of minimally invasive surgeries in our African settings, unavailable surgical instrumentation, including unavailability of surgical implants for in surgery, and intraop challenges such as having to operate during active infection stages. There are also post-operative complications like implant dislodgement, surgical site infections, among others. So what are our conclusions and recommendations? Neurosurgical interventions in spinal tuberculosis management in African settings is associated with improved neurological and functional outcomes. However, achieving optimal outcomes requires addressing challenges such as delayed presentation and infrastructural limitations. We should make equipment available for minimally invasive surgeries in our African settings here. So this scoping review was, however, limited by the heterogeneity of the study design, posing a high risk of selection and reporting bias. Thank you. These were our references for the study. Thank you so much for listening.
All right, thank you very much. Please stay. Okay. Do we have questions for Abdullah? Any question? Any question from the audience? No question from our judges, sirs? Any question? And then from the high table? All right, no question. Come, please put your hands together for him. Our next presenter is Oyedepo Oluwafikayomi Deborah. You have 5 minutes for your presentation and 1 minute to respond to questions.
Good morning, distinguished guests, esteemed judges, and my fellow students. My name is Oyedepo Oluwafikayomi Deborah, and I'll be presenting an abstract on the burden of epilepsy in the Neurology Outpatient Clinic of University of Ilorin Teaching Hospital, a 3-year retrospective review. Epilepsy is one of the most common chronic neurological disorders occurring globally, and it affects individuals across all age groups and social classes. Globally, epilepsy affects about 50 million people, in which 80% of these cases are in low and middle income countries, where 80% of epilepsy-related deaths occur. In Nigeria, epilepsy affects about 8 in 1,000 people, where rural areas occur about 2.5 times higher than in urban areas. Despite this high prevalence of epilepsy globally, there is limited clinical-based data on the local epidemiology, treatment outcomes, healthcare resource utilization, medication adherence, and seizure control rates from tertiary centers in Nigeria. And so this 3-year retrospective review aims to address these gaps. Our objectives are to determine the prevalence of epilepsy and the relative frequencies of the various types of epileptic seizures in the adult neurology outpatient clinic of UITH, to address adherence to medication among patients with epilepsy, to determine self-reported seizure control rate, which is defined as seizure freedom for at least a year after diagnosis and start of medications, and to determine the factors associated with seizure control among patients with epilepsy. We conducted a retrospective review of the medical records of all patients that attended neurology outpatient clinic at UITH over a 3-year period from January 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2024. The relative frequency of epilepsy cases was calculated as a proportion of the total neurology outpatient visits during the study period. We then focused on the subset of patients diagnosed with epilepsy, excluding those with incomplete clinical records and cases of non-epileptic seizures or other paroxysmal disorders. Data extracted included socio-demographic details, seizure type and seizure medication regimen, self-reported adherence, and seizure control. Statistical analysis were performed using Python 3, and a p-value less than 0.05 was considered statistically significant. For our results, among 1,261 patients seen at the neurology outpatient clinic during this study period, 215 had epilepsy, yielding a prevalence of 17.05%. Out of 123 patients with complete clinical records, the mean age was 34.5, with a standard deviation of 16.1, with slight male predominance. Most of the patients reside in urban areas and have attained tertiary level of education. Majority of the patients were on monotherapy with carbamazepine and sodium valproate being the frequently prescribed anti-epileptic drugs. Good adherence was reported in 33.3% of them, of which 20.5% of them had achieved seizure control, while the remaining still had persistent seizures. Adherence to anti-seizure medication showed a statistically significant association with seizure control, with a p-value of 0.008. Other factors, age, sex, residence, and type of epilepsy, showed no statistically significant association with seizure control. From our findings, the prevalence of epilepsy in UITH Neurology Outpatient Clinic is notably higher compared to the estimate of 8 in 1,000 by previous studies, and this likely reflects the concentration of severe or treatment-resistant cases in tertiary care centers, where referrals are typically directed. Furthermore, while improved healthcare systems have been shown to reduce the prevalence of epilepsy, as suggested by studies in Igbora, this likely reflects the concentration of more severe or treatment. It highlights the ongoing challenges in ensuring equitable access to diagnostic and treatment services. The lack of significant impact of demographic variables on seizure control might reflect the complexity of epilepsy management, where adherence and seizure type dominate outcomes rather than age or sex. Importantly, medication adherence emerged as the key determinant of seizure control in our cohorts, and this concurs with previous Nigerian studies identifying poor adherence as a major barrier to epilepsy control, often driven by economic constraints, side effects of these medications, and limited patients' education. Consistent adherence to anti-seizure medications is therefore paramount in reducing the morbidity and mortality associated with refractory epilepsy. While monotherapy showed a trend towards better seizure control than polytherapy, this did not reach a statistical significance, potentially due to the relatively small sample size or the complexity of treatment-resistant cases. In conclusion, epilepsy constitutes a significant clinic burden at UITH, and our findings reinforce the critical need for interventions aimed at improving medication adherence, such as patient education programs and even public education programs. So, for example, the Epilepsy Awareness Outreach is organized by Mission Brain in 2024 and the one organized earlier this year. Adherence monitoring and socio-economic support systems. And these strategies are vital to reducing the epilepsy treatment gap that remains high in Nigeria.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Come please put your hands together for her. So do we have questions for Kayomi? Questions from the audience? Okay, I see one hand. Any other question? Please, can you come forward, please, quickly? Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my question is, I want to ask if epilepsy is a congenital disease or acquired. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have questions.
Good afternoon, everyone. My question is from the research. You mentioned that adherence to medication is the key towards reducing the burden of epilepsy. I thought it was ignorance before this time. So I don't know if it's actually ignorance or adherence to medication from your research. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other question from the judges? On the high table? All right. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. Please, I want to know the causes of seizure and how it can be prevented.
You can respond to your question.
Thank you for your questions. So I'll be starting with the second question. So from our study, most of the patients have already been diagnosed with the epilepsy and they've been counseled on the importance of adhering to the anti-seizure medications. So ignorance is already removed, as though the economic constraints and the stigmatization that is associated with epilepsy is also part of the contributing factor to medication adherence. So it goes beyond the effect of the drug and more on the psychological impact and the willingness of the patients to comply with these medications. For the third question, seizures are caused by a variety of factors, but epilepsy is, according to the International League Against Epilepsy, they defined it as unprovoked seizures. So there are other causes of seizures. Seizures could be post-traumatic. There could be an inciting factor that is causing the seizures, but for epilepsy, it's defined as unprovoked seizures. So the first question. Okay, epilepsy is, well, from my limited knowledge about epilepsy, it could be congenital or acquired, but most of the time it does not have a known cause. Like I said earlier, unprovoked seizures. So usually it is difficult to find the cause of the seizure. As soon as the etiological factor is discovered, then it's not defined as epilepsy any longer because you now have a cause for the seizures. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we please put our hands together? Seems like you have a number of fans. And the third presenter is Ayorinde Oluwaseun. He'll be presenting this topic, why parents and surgeons disagree, the ethical conflicts in pediatric neurosurgical decision making. You have 5 minutes for your presentation and 1 minute to answer your questions. Your time starts now.
Good morning, everyone. All protocols duly observed. I'm Oluwaseun Ayorinde, a medical student at the University of Ilorin, and I will be presenting our work on when parents and surgeons disagree, ethical conflicts in pediatric neurosurgical decision making. And this work is in collaboration with Samson Tobiloba and Kudus Olajide. In 2017, the world followed Charlie Gash's story, which is a tragic story. The boy was diagnosed with encephalopathic mitochondrial DNA depletion syndrome. The parents raised funds to take him to the United States, but the doctors disagreed. They argued that the treatment was futile and it would prolong treatment. Court intervened and eventually court sided with the doctors and they removed life support. Guess what? Charlie died a year before his 4th birthday. In contrast, in 2014, the case of Ashia King also surfaced, in which he was diagnosed with medulloblastoma. Eventually, also, his parents took him to the Czech Republic against medical advice. And after some misunderstanding with the United Kingdom authorities, he was later allowed for the treatment, which is proton beam therapy. Guess what? He survived and he was declared cancer-free. So these two cases shows the two cases show that there is parental hope and there is ethical review in medical team. Now let's come to Africa. If this had happened in Africa, how would it be navigated? Okay. Now, if this kind of thing happened, it really speaks for the child. In Africa, we have many things that contained in the person that speaks for the child. Number one, not the only nuclear family. Extended family and spiritual leaders are involved. Also, cultural norms and limited legal structures. Next slide, please. Now, our review identified 3 key ethical conflicts in pediatric neurosurgery. Number one is futility versus hope. Then second, we have best interest versus harm threshold. Third, evidence versus experimental therapies. Next slide. Now, we conducted a narrative review of literatures published between 2015 and 2025, and 4 key databases were used, which are PubMed, Social Science Research Network, OpenGray, and Google Scholar. Now, the keywords we used, some of them were parental refusal, medical futility, pediatric neurosurgery, and ethical conflict. Out of these, we were able to retrieve 50 articles in which we analyzed only 15, which engaged with our topic, and 4 themes emerged. Next slide. Now, the themes are medical futility versus parental hope, which we found recurring, and best interest versus harm threshold, in which we found that is very complex in settings that have limited legal framework, and in which the palliative care is also limited. Then experimental treatment and legal battles. This one also happens in crimes in which experimental treatment usually leads to legal disputes. Then we also found strategies to resolution. Then in conclusion, we found 3 key models, which are the harm threshold, in which they consider the parental choice concerning the harm to the child. Then also zone of parental discretion, in which there is autonomy for the parent to make decision. Then third, structured ethical pathways, in which there is a framework to resolve ethical issues in pediatric neurosurgery. Then also, we also found that these key structures also encapsulates the bioethics principles, which are non-maleficence, beneficence, justice, and the 4th word, which is, I can't even remember now. Then also, we were able to find the solutions in which there should be ethical review committee in hospitals, and also clinicians should be trained in culturally sensitive communications with the patient and family. And it's time, we just believe it's time to bridge science and empathy and ensure no child future is lost in ethical conflict. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right on time. Sorry, just hold on for your questions. Do we have any questions for Sheung? We have 1. Any other? 2. All right, those are the 2 questions we'll be taking.
Good afternoon. My name is Ahmed Fulani. I have a question. Immediately you mentioned patients, doctors having the kind of disagreement. If one's mother or father is on the sick bed and the patient complains of lack of oxygen, that he needs more. For example, he or she is on an oxygen and he needs another one bigger than that one, but the doctor refuses to give to the patient. Eventually, the person lost his or her life. Do the family of that patient have right to have issue with that doctor on duty? This is a life experience. It happened to me. I lost my mother in this situation. My mother, I was there live. She said that she was not breathing very well, that she will require maybe a bigger oxygen. But the doctor refused, saying that that one was okay. And after a few minutes, we lost her. It was a tug of war. It took so many people to come and, console me, not to even scatter the hospital. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I wanted to ask what was the age cutoff in your research?
Please, you can respond to your question.
Okay, concerning the
Sorry.
first,
Do we have any questions from the judges? Judges from the high table? Please respond.
concerning the first question, our research scope, the topic did not cover that because we focus mainly on pediatrics, not the father or mother. So sorry for the loss, sir. Maybe you can ask fathers in medicine and surgery. Okay. Okay, cut off age, we were not specific, but it's an ongoing project, so there's still room for correction. Thank you. But we are looking at pediatrics, but we didn't put that in so we look into that. Thank you for the question.
Thank you very much, Shun. Thank you. We'll be having our next two presenters joining us virtually, and we'll be beginning with sorry.
Mr. Fulani's question. Thank you very much for this question. And I like the way you responded, that it was out of the scope of his presentation. A very good one at that matter. But the thing is, we empathize with you. Sorry about that. Sorry about the loss of your mom. But when someone is dying, there are events that usually happen. So, okay, one of which could be that the person could be restless. Restlessness could occur from several things. Now, if someone is having labored breathing, there is a way we assess in the hospital. Okay, so there is something they will put on the person's finger. Okay, we call it pulse oximeter. So it's the one that is going to detect the level of oxygen. Okay, so if it is below a threshold, then they will put the person on supplemental oxygen. That is adding oxygen to the one provided by God that we are breathing in freely. Okay, but the thing is, oxygen is like a drug on its own. But excess of it could be deleterious too. So that is why we need that gauge to judge when to give. So the person who attended to your late mother could have used that one, possibly, and maybe because it wasn't up to the threshold to give additional oxygen, that was why he decided not to do that. But one will need to know the context before one will make further comments on that. But I think that should settle the issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. That's why it's our advisor. Thank you. All right, so our next two presenters will be presenting virtually, and we'll be having Kumar Mahato presenting the effectiveness of biodegradable 3D printed cranioplasty implants in pediatrics called DEFET, and followed next would be Khalil S.T. Bryce, the Around the World Technique in Aneurysm Management, the Sloping Review. So can we have Mahato's presentation?
Greeting everyone, I am Ravindra Kumar Mahato, a medical student from Gandaki Medical College, Pokhara, Nepal. I am honored to present our original research titled Effectiveness of Biodegradable 3D Printed Cranioplasty Implant in Pediatric is called DEFET, conducted in collaboration with my colleague Amrendra Kumar Mahato. Let me explain why biodegradable implant is important in children. In children, skull defect can happen after trauma, tumor surgery, or infection. They affect appearance only, impact brain protection, development, and confidence. Normally, surgeons use materials like titanium or PAMA to cover these defects. While these are strong, they do not grow with child mature. As a result, many children need repeat surgery later on, which can be risky, expensive, and emotionally tough. That's why our study comes in. We focused on using biodegradable 3D printed implant, specifically made from combination of polyacetic acid and hydroxyapatite. These materials are not only safe and biocompatible, but they allow children's unborn to grow in. We conducted a literature review on different databases like PubMed, Scopus, Web of Science to map the existing evidence and gap. Based on that, we conducted a retrospective clinical review of 24 pediatric patients aged 2 to 12 who underwent cranioplasty using 3D printed PLA implant at our institution between 2017 to 2023. We conducted the data calculation from radiological imaging and 3-year follow-up. Our primary analysis was bone regeneration index via voxel-based CT scan, cranial symmetry index for assessing skull growth, cosmetic satisfaction on a Likert scale evaluation, standardized assessment for neurocognitive functions, and post-surgical event for any surgical complications. We all children were completed a 3-year follow-up. The average bone regeneration index was 72.4%, which was significantly above the 60% threshold for successful reconstruction. The cranial symmetry index remained within 5%. In nearly 88% of the patients indicate that implant supported natural skull growth. Cosmetic outcomes were rated good to excellent by guardians or caregivers in 95.8% of cases. Importantly, neurocognitive function remained stable or even improved in 67% of the children. In terms of safety, implant integrity was preserved in all cases. There were no revision surgery required. Only one patient developed a minor superficial infection, which was managed by antibiotics. A statistically strong correlation was seen between the bone regeneration and skull growth, suggested that better bone healing supports symmetrical development. To summarize, biodegradable 3D printed PLA implants are not only safe, well tolerated, but also growth compatible, cosmetically effective, and clinically sustainable, especially in low resource pediatric setting where access to reoperation or high end implant is limited. We believe this technique represents our next generation solution in pediatrics skull reconstruction, bridging the gap between cost, technology, and clinical safety. Further research is needed to personalized healing pattern, material optimization, and long-term neurodevelopmental outcomes. But our data offers a promising foundation. These are our references from which we conceptualize our manuscript, and these are our
That was quite interesting. Right. So we're having the next presenter also joining us virtually, and that would be Khalil St. Bryce. Meanwhile, if you have questions for Mahato, he would be available to respond after. Mahato and Bryce would respond after this presentation, after Bryce's presentation. So you have questions, please put them down and they will respond virtually. So can we have the presentation for Khalil St. Bryce, the Around the World Technique in Aneurysm Management, the Sloping Review.
Hi everyone. Today I'll be presenting our scoping review titled The Around the World Technique in Aneurysm Management. This study explores a family of endovascular techniques used to treat difficult aneurysms, particularly when the aneurysm shape and location make it hard to cross with a catheter during treatment. So, large and giant intracranial aneurysms are rare, but dangerous. They often have wide necks and distorted shapes that make it hard to get a catheter through to treat them. Many of these cases can't be managed by traditional microsurgery or basic endovascular approaches. Some advanced catheter techniques, like Around the World, have emerged, but the literature on them is scattered and inconsistently named. That's why we conducted this review. In this method, we deliberately loop The microcatheter inside the aneurysm entering through the inflow, curving around the dome and exiting via the outflow tract. A balloon or stent is used to stabilize the catheter. This setup allows us to perform a bridge across the neck of the aneurysm and proceed with treatment, even in cases where direct passage would fail. So as you can see in this image, it clearly depicts how the around-the-wheel technique is conducted. We searched multiple databases and included any study that used the around-the-wheel technique or similar approaches. Whether they called it that or not, we only included studies that treated large or complex aneurysms with clear procedural detail and outcome reporting. In total, we reviewed 17 studies involving 62 patients. One of the biggest findings that this single family of techniques goes by 14 different names in the literature. This inconsistency makes it hard to search, compare, or teach these methods. Terms ranging from pipe anchor to balloon bounce to vault. Two papers actually used the around-the-wheel technique, but many others did not. Here's a list of technique names that we came across in literature. Most aneurysms treated were large and wide-necked, with an average size of 20 millimeters. The internal carotid artery, especially the cavernous and paraclinal segments, were the most common locations. Stents, flow diverters, and balloons were the main devices used. Here we show our forest plots showing the common locations such as the cavernous, internal carotid, middle cerebral artery, basal tip, among others. The results were excellent. In 77% of cases, the procedure succeeded on the first try. All procedures were ultimately successful, and over half achieved complete aneurysm occlusion. Only 3% had complications, and everyone either improved or remained stable symptomatically. In conclusion, the around-the-wheel technique is a safe and effective strategy for tackling aneurysms that are traditionally hard to treat. It offers a new option for patients and surgeons, but we need standardized terminology and clearer outcome reporting to fully realize its potential. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. So just in case you were wondering just how international is Mission Brain, that's your answer. So do we have questions for these presenters? Do you have any questions for the presenters? They are online and they can take your questions. Any questions from the audience? I can see a hand. Okay, any questions from the judges? No questions from the high table? All right. Since no questions, can we again please put our hands together for Mahato and for Bryce? We're having our last presenter, and he'll be presenting Expanding Palliative Care Access for Neuro-Oncology Patients in Africa. And please make welcome Clement Elan Class. I don't know Clement. Is he around? Bassett, is Clement around? All right. So, well, I guess he's not around for his presentation. So I will give the judges the time to collate the results. We'll be going to a very interesting session, and my beautiful co-anchor will be taking that session from me. So come on, please put your hands together for Grace. Thumbs up.
Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Are we tired? Are we tired?
Good day.
So we'll just be playing a little game. It's called Fact or Cap. Saying some brain facts or whatever, and then you tell me if it's a fact or if it's a cap. Are we ready? Are we ready? 2, 1. Your brain stops developing after childhood. Fact or cap? Fact or cap? I'm not really hearing. I'm hearing harm, but I can't really. Okay. Fact, raise your hands. Fact, your brain stops developing after childhood. Cap, raise your hand. Okay. So it keeps developing well into your 20s, especially the prefrontal cortex. So another question, epilepsy is contagious. Fact or cap? Fact or cap? Fact, raise your hand. Cap, raise your hand. Correct. Epilepsy is not contagious. It's a neurological condition. 3, stress can shrink parts of your brain. Facts or cap? Facts or cap? Raise your hands if you think it's facts. Raise your hands if you think it's cap. Okay, so actually, chronic stress affects the hippocampus, and that is linked to memory and learning. So, yeah, it is fact. Everyone with a seizure has epilepsy. Fact or cap? Facts or cap? Raise your hands if it's fact. Raise your hands if it's cap. Correct. Not all seizures mean epilepsy. Some could be due to fever or trauma, just like our presenter said. Kayo. So exercise improves mental health. Facts or cap? Facts or cap? True. Physical activity will boost, the mood and reduce anxiety. Mental illness is caused by weakness. Fact or cap? Fact or cap? Raise your hands if it's fact. If you think, oh, you're mentally ill, so you're weak, raise your hands. Okay, raise your hands if it's cap. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you very much.
You guys are quite nice. You're answering questions for free. I would have, charged a couple
You
to
too
answer
like
a question. But yes. Next we'll be having the machine learning in medicine, and that would be delivered by the HOD of the surgery department, Professor Agodiri. Can we have? Thank you, please. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I see the S1 students are clapping with hands raised to the sky. It doesn't affect your results, but clap, 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 clap. No, right.
Good day, everyone. I want to start by congratulating the organizers of this event, and also to state that surgery department is glad to be part of it, and I'm also deeply honored to be giving this presentation. While I stand on the existing protocols, I want to appreciate the University Authority under the able leadership of our VC, Professor Wahab Ebewole, and the College of Health Sciences under the leadership of Professor Alabi, our Dean of Clinical Sciences, Professor Abdurrahman, the keynote speaker, Professor Bankole, and the father of the day, Professor Debode. I also appreciate the advisor of the organizers, Professor Wahab, and our special guest of honor, Engineer Giwa. I appreciate all the panelists and the audience for gracing this occasion. My talk is on how to use machine learning to promote neurosurgical care in poor resource settings. And this is the outline of my presentation. So because I'm sure we have been exposed to artificial intelligence and machine learning in one form or the other, the main consideration will be to talk on how we have a deeper understanding of machine learning and how we integrate machine learning into our workflow in poor resource settings. We are all aware of the deep and great impact of artificial intelligence and machines globally, and from implementation in research to groundbreaking innovations such as machines used to restore sight, to restore mobility in paralyzed persons, for personalized care, for prediction, and for precision surgeries, monitoring recovery. So we are aware of all this. So I'll be wasting so much time on this. So for us to understand the use of machine learning in poor resource settings, we must consider the challenges faced in poor resource settings. And the challenges, the common challenges of neurosurgical practice in poor resource centers are just similar to what other subspecialties encounter, which includes lack of manpower, lack of infrastructure, failure to recognize, conditions, and after recognition of conditions, failure to treat. Now, there are so many other, challenges, but these are some of the major ones that impact the quality of healthcare delivery. What is machine learning? Machine learning is when machines learn to undertake human tasks. This is also the definition of artificial intelligence. And machine learning is a subdomain of artificial intelligence. Okay? how do machines learn to undertake human tasks? How do they reason? Now, there are two main ways. The first strategy of teaching machine to undertake human tasks is to download the knowledge directly to the machine, which is referred to as knowledge-driven method. And then the second way, which is the more modern way, is the data-driven method, where the machine is given data and the machine learns from the data. And then there is what I call the hybrid, which I feel is more pertinent to our own environment, because the knowledge-driven is the traditional way, which is direct transfer of the knowledge to the machine, and the machine doesn't reason on its own. Whereas the data-driven, which is the more modern way, has more demanding in terms of the infrastructure and requirement for that. And so in my own practice in